So let's start. In the last class, I talked about what we mean by a walk and subwalk I introduced, and reduction of a walk by a closed subwalk. So that will be needed today. So let me draw a graph very quickly. Suppose this is the graph I'm talking about. This all are vortices, okay? And then another one. So I'm talking about this graph, okay? So let me, and there is a circular loop here. There is a loop here, okay? Yeah, so let me name this graph. So this is V1, this is E1, this is V2, this they are saying this E1, so V1, E1, this is E2, V2, E3, this is V3, E4, and suppose this is V4, there is also a loop here, so this is E5, this is V4, okay, V4, E5, E6, so V3, E4, E5, V4, V5, this is V6, this is V7, V8, V7, V8, this is V9, this is V9, and this is V10. There are 10 vertices, I guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Over 10 vertices are here. Name the edges. This is, I was up to E6. This is E7. I'm drawing a complex graph of that. E7, E8, E9. This is E8. This is E9. Okay. Then E10, E10 is this. E11 must be this, E12 is this, E13 is this, and E14 will be this. So this is the graph I'm talking about. Let consider a walk in this graph, okay, P. Let P be this. Why I'm teaching this, you will understand a bit later. Consider this walk from V1 to V7. It is V1, so I start with V1. I go to E2, so V1 to E2, then V2, then I go to E3, then I reach V3, E4, V4, so E4, V4, so I go here, right, I reach V4, then E6, V5, E6, V5, that means I go here, I reach here, then E7, V6, E7, V6, E8, V3, so like this, okay, then E9, V7, E9, V7, so E9, V7. Consider this walk from V1 to V7. Clearly, this is a walk, as you can see. This, and this. This is not a path. Why it is not a path? Just because the vertex V3 has been repeated. The vertex V3 has been repeated. Okay. This is definitely a trail, just because all the edges are distinct. No repetition of edges is there. So this is a trail. But let me call this is a walk. So this is a walk from V1 to V7. This is not a path. This is not a path. You see, if I remove this cycle from here, or if I remove this closed subwalk from here, that means V1 this. If I go directly like this becomes a path. That means my aim is this, or my logic is this. Call Q like this. Choose Q from here up to here. That means Q is V3, E4, V4, E6, V5, E7, V6, E8, V3. That means what is my Q? V3, E4, V4, E6, V5, E7, V6, E8, V3. So this is my Q. This is my Q. Okay. Then Q is a closed subwalk of P. Right? By the definition of a subwalk, Q is a subwalk of P, and not only a subwalk, but that is a closed subwalk. In the last class, what I taught you, whenever I have a closed subwalk, I can reduce P to P minus Q. So what I mean by reduction? We remove all of this from my walk except V3. Suppose except one of this, one of the starting or end points of the closed subwalk. So P minus Q. Therefore, what is the meaning of P minus Q? It is this one. V1, E2, V2, E3. All of these are removed except the starting and ending vortex will remain. So only V3 will be remaining. This is meant by the reduction. E9, V7. What I have done? I have removed this whole thing from P except the starting and ending vortex. This was the definition of reduction. So now this is the reduction of P by Q, and this is a path from V1 to V7. So try to understand what I am doing. You give me any walk from V1 to V7 or any vortex to any another vortex, I can reduce this walk to a path. This was not a path. Why? Because the vortex V3 was repeated twice. So when a vortex was repeated twice, there must be a closed subwalk. I will remove that closed subwalk except that vortex. Then I eventually get what? A path. Understood my point? So what I mean is that whenever there is a walk, there is a path. Whenever there is a U to V walk, there is a U to V path. How can you get the path from the walk? You remove all the closed subwalks which are present. Suppose there is another closed subwalk here at V2, you again remove that. Again, suppose there is some another closed subwalk at V6, you remove that. So after removing all the closed subwalks, you will remain with a path from V1 to V7. Understood my point? So this is just an example which I showed you. But the next theorem says that whenever there is a UV walk, there is a UV path. Okay, whenever there is a UV walk, there is a UV path. So let me state the theorem. So this is the idea behind the proof. The same idea which I showed in this example will be followed in the proof. So let me state the theorem more formally. Let me state the theorem like this. The theorem says, let G be a graph, and U comma V be two vortices of G. So G is a graph, and suppose the two vortices of G are named as U and V. If there is a walk from U to V, then there is a path from U to. So this is the next theorem which I am going to prove it. The idea is very simple. The idea is very simple, which I explained in the last example. So whenever there is a U to V walk, there is a U to V path. So this is what the theorem is. So let's do the proof. Now, suppose there is a closed walk. So we'll do in cases. We'll do in cases. Suppose, look at this walk. Look at this walk. Suppose I have a path from V3 to V6. Walk from V3 to V6. This. Or this. You can remove this loop. Or what you can do, just writing V3 is enough. This is a path from V3 to V3. Because I have already said you, this is a trivial walk or a trivial path or a trivial tree when it has got no edges at all. So whenever I have a closed, like suppose I have from some vertex U, edges, vertices and so on, we end at U. What we do? This is simply a path from U to U. It can be reduced like this. So this is the first case I am talking about. So let us consider a walk. Okay. So let P equals to U to V. So U will start with U. We'll rename this U as V1. So then E1, then V2, then E2 and dot. I have suppose the nth vertex Vn, which is nothing but V. So I have this walk from U to V. So be a walk. Be a walk from U to V. So from this walk, I have to get a path. Now we'll do in cases if U equals to V. That means this is a closed walk. If U equals to V, that is when the walk is a closed walk. So if U and V are same, that means I'm starting at U and I'm ending at U. Okay. So in this case, just considering U, this is a path from U to U because I'm starting at U and I'm ending at U. So in this case, this is a path from U to U, consisting only single vertex and no edges. You can write that down. So consisting only one vertex and no edges. So understood my point? Whenever you have a closed walk from some vertex to another vertex, just considering a path consisting of that vertex will give you a path from U to U. So when the walk is closed, finding a path is very simple. Now let's assume that the walk is open, right? Suppose P is an open walk, right? Suppose P is an open walk. So do you have any confusion up to here?
No, sir.
Now you see, I am considering that P is an open walk. It may be a path itself. Suppose I give you this walk, V1 to V2 via E2, then V2 to V3 via E3, and then V3 to V7 via E9. This is definite. I'm talking about this walk. But you see, this walk is already a path. So if it is already a path, I don't have to do anything. I have to do something when it is not a path. So let me write that down. So consider P is an open walk. Okay. So if this is a path, if this open walk is a path, we are done. Because If that is already a path, we don't have to do anything, the proof is complete. Now we suppose that, suppose P is not a path, right? Suppose or if P is not a path. So I have to reduce P to a path. I'm assuming that suppose P is not a path. So under what condition P will not be a path? Can you tell me? If P is not a path, what will be there in P? Or why P is not a path? What is the reason behind it?
Duplicate vertex.
Yes, very good. So if P is not a path, that means P is having either some repeated edges or some repeated vertices. As simple as that. If P is not a path, it will definitely have some repeated edges or some repeated vertices. Now see here, when the edges are repeated, that automatically implies that the vertex will also be repeated. Do you agree with my point? When some edge is repeated, the vertex will also be repeated, that is for sure. Because if E is a edge from, suppose E1 to V1 to V2, if I am repeating E again, that means I am again traveling from V1 to V2 or V2 to V1. So anyways, even if edges are repeated, the vertex are definitely repeated. So I can simply say, if this P is not a path, then I will get some repeated vertex here. This too cannot be repeated, keep that in mind. Okay, because I am assuming that this is an open box, so let me write it down. So if P is not a path, then some vertex Vi will be same as some vertex Vj, right? For some I comma j lying between 1 and n. So this is for sure. Now the idea was very simple. What I did in the previous case, whenever some vertex was repeated, as you can see, I took this subverb from here to here and removed this whole thing except the vertex V3. I'll write the same thing here. So if P is not a path, then Vi equals to Vj for some I and j. This shows that there is a closed subverb. Q from Vi to Vj. Already explained this part. I have already explained you this part. Because these two vertices are repeated, just look here. Because these two vertices are repeated, I can guarantee you that this will be a closed subverb of P. So there is a closed subverb Q from V1 to Vj. Understood up to here? The proof is very simple. Just try to understand. So whenever this happens, what I will do? We will remove Q. That means we reduce P to P minus Q. So now I have got a new walk without hampering anything. I have just removed that closed subverb. So I will just write now P minus Q. Now P minus Q is a new walk from U to V. Okay. So again, if this is a path, we are done. Again, if this is not a path, we will again get a closed subverb. We will again reduce that reduce the path or walk from due to that closed subverb. We will repeat this process again and again. So let me write it down. If this walk is a path, we are done. If this walk is a path, we are done. I will not write that. If this walk is not a path, we repeat this deletion process. deletion, let's try to fit here, deletion process of subworks. So what I mean by this, just look at this graph. This graph is very useful to us. So there was only this. Suppose I had some another like this. Okay, suppose I was traveling this, and I'm going to V7. So firstly, I saw there is a closed subwalk. I remove this closed subwalk. So this has been removed now. Now I am going to like this. But this is again not a path. So what I'll do, I have to remove this again closed subwalk. So I'll go here, I'll remove this. So I'll just like this. So whenever I get a closed subwalk, I am removing this. Okay, I am removing this. Here there was only one closed subwalk. So after removing this, I got a path. But suppose there are two closed subwalks present here, or maybe 5 closed subwalks present here. I will remove all of them one after another. This is what I have written here. Now this is a new walk from U to V. If this is a path, we are done with the proof. Suppose if this is not a path, we repeat this deletion process of subwalks. Understood up to here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you see one thing. Now because the number of vertices in P is finite, there can be only finite number of subwalks present. So after removing all of this finite number of subwalks, we are done with the proof. That means I'll get a path from U to V. So let me write that. Okay. What I will write, I'll just write this. Because the number of closed subwalks of P is finite, okay, we eventually obtain a path from U to. This completes the proof of the theorem. So we understood one thing. Whenever I have a walk from one vertex to some another vertex, if that walk is a closed walk, then just considering a single vertex, that U only as a path, will give me a path. And secondly, if that is an open walk, we remove all the loops and we removed all the closed subwalks. Basically loops are also closed subwalks, by the way. Anyways, so we remove all the closed subwalks of P and then we get a path from U to V. So this is the theorem. Whenever we have a walk, we have a path. Okay. So in a similar manner, you can show this. I will not do the proof of this theorem. So keep this as a home task. Every circuit contains a subwalk which is a cycle. That is a cycle. What I mean by this, that you give me any circuit, I can reduce that circuit to a cycle. Like just what I did here. You give me a walk, I will give you a path. You give me a circuit, I can give you a cycle. Because what is a circuit? It has no repeated edges, right? Yes. That was the definition of a circuit. That was a closed trail having no repetition of edges. Okay. And what was a cycle? No repetition of edges and no repetition of vertices. So keep in mind, how can you get a cycle from a circuit? You remove all the repeated vertices and you are done with the cycle. You just try to do the proof, or else If you do not get the idea, you please ask me. I will tell you what is the idea to prove. So for the time being, I will not do the proof. Okay. So left as an exercise. Okay. So we are done with at least this thing, these two things. You give me a path, a walk, I will give you a path, and then you give me a circle, I will give you a cycle. Good enough. Now we start a new topic, something called as connectedness. Okay, we'll start something called as connectedness. So this is what we mean by connectedness. Let's see what we mean by connectedness. Definition of connected graph. Okay. So let G be some graph. Let G be a graph. Let G be a graph. G is called a connected graph. G is called a connected graph if for any two vertices, u comma v of G, there is a u to v walk in G. So when will I call my graph a connected graph? When for any two vertices I will get a walk from one vertex to another vertex. That means my graph is said to be a connected graph if I can find a walk from any vertex to any other vertex. This is what I mean by a connected graph. Now keep that in mind. This walk can also be replaced by path. You know the reason why? Because whenever there is a u to v walk in G, there will be a u to v path in G, just by the previous theorem. So we can either define this way, we can also define if for any two vertices u comma v of G, there is a u to v path in G. Okay, and one more thing, otherwise G is called disconnected graph. So the first thing that we want is some example of connected and disconnected graph. It's very simple. Just hold on. Yes, we have not written the definition. Okay, consider this graph G. Consider V1, V2, V3, V4, V5. Consider this graph G. Okay. What do you think? Is this graph connected? To check the connectedness, what you will have to do, you see whether you can find a path from every vertex to every another vertex. So V1 to V1, there is a single, this is a path, just considering this one in a bracket V1, that means that is a path from V1 to V1. Same path for V2 to V2 and so on. That is very trivial. Let's see whether I have a path from V1 to V2. Yes, I have. V1 to V3. Yes, I have. I can go from here to here. From up to V4, I have many. I can go from here or from here. Or V1 to V5 I have here. I have a path from V1 to every other vertex. Let's check for V2 also. I have a path to V1, path to V3, path to V4, path to V5 and so on. Do you see one thing, that You give me any vertex, I can give you a walk or a path from that vertex to any other vertex. So G is connected. Did you understand the meaning of connected graph? G is connected. Okay, so this graph G is a connected graph because you can find from one vertex to another. You can find a path from one vertex to any other vertex in G. But the next thing that we will learn is see an example of a disconnected graph. So consider this graph. This graph is H, V1, V2, V3, V4. You clearly see that VH is not a connected graph. You know a reason why H is not a connected graph? There are many reasons. One reason can be I cannot find a walk from V3 to V4. So H is a disconnected graph. Why? Because as there is no, you can also say V2 to V4 walk or V3 to V4 walk or V1 to V4 walk, as there is no V1 or any one unit, so V2 to V4 walk or a path. So because you cannot reach V4, whatever you do, so that means the graph is disconnected. So one thing is very much clear from the definition of a connected graph. If the graph is connected, then the degree of every vertex should at least be 1. It cannot be 0. If the degree is 0, then definitely there is no edge connecting to that vertex. I cannot find a path or a walk up to that vertex. So keep that in mind. If my graph is connected one, it cannot have any isolated vertex. If it is having some isolated vertex, that means that graph is definitely not connected. Consider another graph G1 like this. They all comprise G1. Remember that. This is not 3 different graphs. This is a single graph having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 vertices. So this I have considered a new graph. Is G1 connected or disconnected? Is G1 connected or disconnected? Definitely disconnected. Can you find a path from here to here or walk from this vertex to this vertex? There is no connection at all, right? So G1 is disconnected. Okay. So we have understood what we mean by a connected and a disconnected graph. Very good. And as already said, whenever there is a walk, there is a path. So I have now 2 definitions for a connected graph. One definition is what? That there exists a U to V walk for every pair of vertices, or another definition is what? You can remove the word walk by path. You know the reason behind it, why it can be done. Okay. Now you see, determining whether a graph is connected is not that easy. If I have less number of vertices, you can easily see that the graph is connected or disconnected. But if suppose there are 1000 vertices in my graph, then just by looking at the graph, it is not possible to say whether it is possible to find a path from every vertex to every another vertex. This is not a simple task, right? So we will do many theorems relating to that. How can we determine a graph is connected and so on? So I'll do those theorems in the next class. So let me teach you some another thing. related to disconnected graph first. You see here, look at this graph G1. Look at this graph G1. This graph is clearly disconnected. But if you see, this is composed of 3 connected graphs. Do you see? This G1 is composed of 3 connected graphs. This is a connected graph because from every vertex you can find another a path to another vertex and so on, right? This is a connected graph. This is a connected graph. This is a connected graph. So G1 is composed of 3 small connected graphs. Similarly, H is a disconnected graph, but it is again composed of 2 connected graphs. This is a connected graph and this is a connected graph. These connected graphs are called as components of G1. So whenever I have some disconnected graph, it can be broken down into small components. So what are the components of G1? This is a component, this is a component, this is a component. And similarly, what are the components of H? This is a component, this is a component. Understood my point, what I mean by components?
Yes, sir.
But we will define in a more standard way. But to be very honest, this is what we mean by components. Okay, but we will define it in more detail. We'll define it in more detail. So few things to note. First of all, note if G is connected, then degree of any vortex in G is at least 1, right? It cannot be 0. Why? If it is 0, I will get a isolated vortex, and whenever I have an isolated vortex, the graph cannot be connected one. So number 1 is this, number 2 is this. We assume that, so this is our assumption. We assume that a graph with only one vortex and no edges is connected. So if I ask you this, or if I give you this, just this graph, consider this. So we will assume that this is a connected graph. The reason is this: I have a path from V to V, which is in bracket you can write V. That is a path from V to V. So this is our assumption, or you can also say this comes from the definition that a graph with only one vortex and no edges will be considered a connected graph. Okay. Let's see where the idea of disconnected comes. Okay, so here let's see, let G be any graph. You see, I am taking any graph. Okay, you can give the heading components if you want to give. I'm talking about components. I haven't defined yet. And I told you what exactly components are, but I will define in more formal manner. So let G be any graph. I don't know whether G is connected or disconnected. We have no idea. We have no idea about G, whether G is connected, disconnected, anything. G can be any graph. Okay. We define a relation. Define a relation R on the vortex set V of G by this. So you see what I am doing, I have some graph G. So the vertex set, just consider the vertex set of that graph. So vertex set will comprise of some finite number of elements. Suppose v1, v2, v3, vn. Okay, so just consider the vertex set. On that vertex set, I am defining a relation. That means I will relate one vertex to another vertex by some relation. So by this. So R. So two vertex u and v will be said to be related. So u comma v belongs to v cross v. That means this is also a vertex from v. This is also a vertex from v. When will I say that these two are related or belongs to this R? Such that there is a u v in G. So try to understand my point. We say that two vertices are related if and only if I can find a walk from one vertex, first vertex to another vertex. I will say u is related to v by the relation R if I can find a walk from u to v. If you can find a walk from u to v. Any confusion up to here?
No, sir.
So I will give you a home task that prove that. Before that, just a minute. Let's see this example. Let's see this example. This vertex is related to this vertex, right? This vertex is related to this vertex because I can find a walk from this vertex to this vertex. This vertex is related to this vertex. Why? I can find a walk from this to this. You can see this. This is the walk I'm talking about. But this vertex and this vertex are not related because I cannot find a walk from this vertex to this vertex. So I hope you have got the idea what the relation is. So this relation will comprise of those pair of vertices for which I can find a walk from the first vertex to the next vertex. Now my claim is this relation is an equivalence relation. That is your home task. I have only taught you what I mean by an equivalence relation in the last semester, and you must do it or you must show it why this relation is an equivalence relation. That means you have to show that u is related to u for every vertex v, that is reflexive. Why it is symmetric? Very obvious. If there is a walk from u to v, then there is a walk from v to u as well. And why it is transitive? You do it. So that is your task. Prove that R is an equivalence relation, and you will send it to me today itself. All of you must send it to me today itself why this R is an equivalence relation. And that's all for today. I will talk about this relation in more detail in the next class. Thank you. That's all for today.
Thank you, sir.